You gotta be fucking kidding. So, as you can see by that reaction, I am not very enthusiastic or supportive of this recent news. So, via Bloody Disgusting and a bunch of other sources, it is now confirmed that Universal and Blumhouse are working on another remake of The Thing. Now, they're trying to defend it and they're trying to say things like, well, it's not really a remake. It's an adaptation of Campbell's Who Goes There, plus the lost manuscripts that came out recently called Frozen Hell, and as well as the John Carpenter film and the 1951 movie, The Thing from Another World. And I'm like, that doesn't make it any better. So basically, your defense for this is we're taking a smorgasbord approach. We're copying the formula from Halloween 2018. We're going to give you the greatest hits of The Thing. I don't want the greatest hits album of The Thing. Okay? I don't want another Thing movie unless you're going to do a sequel to the 1982 film, which is what Carpenter and Russell wanted to do, but Universal told them to fuck off, and they decided to start work on a sci-fi channel series called Things, written by Frank Darabont, that never got made. And then after that, instead of going back to Kurt Russell and John Carpenter to do a sequel, no, let's do a prequel that nobody asked for, which is literally just a remake of the 1982 film with only a few things changed around in terms of the characters, in terms of what happens, but it's honestly the same movie in terms of its basic structure. And now this, which potentially sounds even worse than the 2011 prequel, because that wasn't needed and that wasn't necessary, and didn't do that great in the box office, and neither did the first film, to be honest. The first film was a box office bomb. The 1982 film was a box office bomb. The remake was a box office bomb, and critics hated it at the time, and it's only over the past few decades that it has gotten the respect and the acclaim that I and multiple other people feel it deserves. It didn't get that upon its release. The original film was a decent success, the 1951 film, The Thing from Another World, but that's not the reason why this is happening from Blumhouse and Universal. The reason why is due to the 1982 film and its cult fan base. I don't think they're doing it because of the novel. They're not doing it because of the 1951 film. They're doing this because it's an established IP and it's popular and it has a fan base, because that's what the trend is. The trend is nowadays to just take any established IP, anything that's remotely recognizable from the 80s or the 90s, and churn out another sequel or a reboot or a remake, and just keep feeding people reheated leftovers from decades past. That's what the trend is. It's a terrible trend, and I want to kill it with fire, but that's what the trend is. And so, this being announced doesn't really surprise me, but it's still incredibly disappointing and upsetting to see, because there is no reason for this. The Thing already was remade, and the story was already adapted and changed around and improved upon. There is literally nothing you can do, in my opinion, to make this better with this adaptation, with this new vision. And the reasoning for it from the producer is even more infuriating, because it just represents everything that I hate about this stupid trend of nostalgia baiting. So, this is the producer, Alan Dawns. He says, "It's official. I've received my signed contract and first check. I'm executive producing a remake of The Thing with additional chapters of John Campbell's breaking novel Frozen Hell that had been lost for decades. Now, for the first time ever, Campbell's full vision will be realized on the big screen." That's what they said about Total Recall. That's what they said about a bunch of other movies that turned out to just be lazy, reheated leftovers. of the other popular films. Why should I believe that this will be any different? I don't believe that. Plus, I don't know. I think I find it a little bit leery, and I find it a little bit suspect when one of the first thing that the guy says is, "I received my first check. I got paid. I'm gonna get paid and laid, folks." So he received his first check, and he's talking about how now for the first time ever, Campbell's full vision will be realized on the big screen. But then he contradicts himself by saying the new film will include the very best of RKO's The Thing from Another World, John Carpenter's classic The Thing, and both books Frozen Hell, and Who Goes There. And I'm like, I don't want greatest hits. I don't want that. I don't know. I don't want now. That's what I call a shitty movie, volume 35. So, oh my god. And then I did some research about what the extra chapters are, and they're nothing. The extra chapters that were found from the lost manuscripts, they don't really add anything new. So, I'm just gonna look up the comment that I saw that gave me a little more info on it. Because it is, they don't really add anything new with this, with the script. It's just the same thing. Yeah, so this guy, he actually read Frozen Hell, and the added chapters document the discovery of the crashed alien ship and the recovery of the Thing. After that, the rest of the story is essentially unchanged from Who Goes There, apart from the removal of some parts that are redundant based on the added story material. So, even if it's going to be more based on the original story, we're just going to get the same story. So what is the point of this thing? Nostalgia baiting and cheap cash. That's what the point is. And I don't trust Blumhouse. I do not trust Blumhouse for one fucking second with a new adaptation of The Thing. And look what happened with the 2011 film. There was a bunch of practical effects that were done that actually looked pretty good, and then the studio got cold feet for some stupid reason, and then was like, no, make it CGI, and then they covered it all in CGI and made it look like shit. So are we going to get practical effects for this one? And even if we do, that's not an automatic, this is going to be good, because there are plenty of films out there that have practical effects that suck. I'm not one of those people who's just like, oh, it has practical effects, I'm going to go see it. No. I mean, speaking about, Tom Woodruff and Alec Gillis, I mean, they were the ones behind Harbinger Down, and that film got a giant thumbs down from me. It was such a piece of shit that it was one of those turds that's so big it's hard to flush down the toilet. You gotta get a plunger to shove that thing down. That's how bad that fucking movie was. And that had practical effects in it. So no, I don't buy, oh, if it has practical effects, it doesn't mean it's going to be good. By default, this is just a bad, bad, bad idea. It's not necessary. Most of the fan base that I've seen in reaction to this, they're not happy. They don't want this. So I don't get it. The original John Carpenter's The Thing was a box office bomb in 1982. And we're talking about a span of history, folks, with box office receipts from films that tanked initially but got a sequel years later not doing well. Tron Legacy underperformed, and Blade Runner 2049 is the most recent example. Didn't do that well in the box office. So, and even The Shining wasn't a massive hit. It was a better hit than The Thing or Blade Runner, but even that wasn't a massive hit in the box office, but it did make a profit. So Dr. Sleep didn't do that well either in the box office. So even if you're looking at recent trends, this probably won't do very well. Going all the way back to 2011, the prequel didn't do that well either. So why? Why waste your time with this? Like, where's the audience for this? I would have been interested if they got John Carpenter back and Kurt Russell. What are they going to have Kurt Russell show up as McCready? And then he's going to be some old crabby man who's gonna be a joke or something. I don't want this thing. Get this thing away from me. But this is just a announcement. It's not a confirmation that this thing is actually going to get made, because the Big Trouble in Little China remake that was announced with The Rock a couple years ago, I haven't heard anything new about that for like a year. So it seems like that might not be happening, and thank God. Hopefully that doesn't happen. We hear about stuff like this all the time. There was going to be another remake of The Fly or another remake of The Blob, and those haven't really materialized. So there's a chance that this won't either. But I honestly think the chances of this actually happening are a lot stronger than those, because you already have a producer who signed on and signed a contract, and you have Universal working with Blumhouse, and they're looking at the success of the Halloween reboots, which was just the greatest hits of the Halloween franchise, and they are copying that formula because it was successful. That movie made a lot of money, so they're going to copy that formula and apply it to the thing. That's really what I think they're going to do. And I don't think they're going to reconsider it. I think this is going to happen. I'd love to be wrong, but it's a successful formula. They're going to repeat it. And I warned you. I was right up there with other friends of mine warning people that if Halloween 2018 is a box office hit, the studio is going to copy that formula and apply it to other popular or somewhat well-known IPs in their catalog. And that's exactly what is happening, and that is exactly what is behind this new adaptation of the thing. It's not because of the lost manuscripts that they found, because that's a pretty lame reason to do another adaptation. Oh, we found some lost manuscripts. We found 45 pages from the original story, and we're going to adapt those. Like, when you're getting to the point where the reasons that you have for another adaptation of something is you found some lost manuscripts, you're getting way beyond the point of being desperate. So, this whole thing, to quote Kurt Russell from Tango and Cash, fucking sucks. It really does. It fucking sucks. I hate this trend. I hate this idea. I hate this thing, and I hope it never fucking happens. And I hope it's killed with all the fire and never sees the light of day. I hope it's burnt to a crisp and gets buried. But I'm just going off of my initial reactions here to this thing, and it does not make me happy, does not make me pleased. I have no hope for this, even if it does get made, because it's just starting off on the wrong foot. Unlike the 1982 film, which actually had its own DNA, it was a unique, fairly, it wasn't a fairly unique, it was a unique take on the story and on elements from both Who Goes There and the 1951 film by Howard Hawks. It was its own film still, despite having some of the same parts. This is taking all of the parts from all of those stories, and it's just imitating them. Just like the 2011 prequel was a pale imitation of the 1982 film, they're going to repeat that same fatal mistake, and they're going to imitate not one story, but multiple stories. I find it ironic, since the thing itself is an organism that imitates other organisms. And all this project is doing is imitating other stories. So fuck this thing. I'm going to stick with the real thing, and I hope Universal and Blumhouse do the right thing and don't make this thing. But anyway, thank you for watching this rant on another remake of The Thing. Please feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments down below in terms of what your thoughts are on this, and what your hopes are, if you have any. And yeah, as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you later. See ya.